Hi guys, we're going to talk today about the Lake Champlain FLW Tour event. This was the last one of the season. Ended up off on a pretty strong note, ended in 40th place. Unfortunately, it didn't qualify us for the FLW Cup. I would have ended up needing about a top 15 for that to have happened, so a little bummed about that, but can't be ever upset when you can cash a check against these guys. They're the best in the world, so it's a lot of work and it's great when it happens. So I want to go over my setup, kind of what I did each day. Let's start with my rod and reel. I use a Dobbins. It's a 702 Champion. It's got a Hayabusa hook here. You can see it's a drop shot hook. Let's see the packaging real quick and show you the exact one. It's a DSR 132. Not sure where I put it, but you can look that up. It's a size 2. And what that does, it's a real small hook, but it lets you pin those fish right in the roof of their mouth. And the bait I was using was Cornerstone baits. It's called the Rib Stick. This is in Pearl Smoke. You can see I'm running really low on them. I went through a ton of these baits this week. So what I was doing was taking this bait here, taking my drop shot with about a 6-inch leader, real short, trying to keep it close to the bottom because I was bed fishing, so you would have to go and catch them and keep the bait close to the bottom. That would really let you get those better bites that way. And I was just nose hooking it just like that. I like to put the clear side down, white side up. And what I was doing was throwing that in the bed, and what the white allowed me to do is see that bait down there. You'd be fishing between anywhere between 5 and 10 foot of water for the most part. I was a little deeper a couple times, but it just really let you see where your bait was on the bed. If the fish got finicky, which they did a couple times, they would get one that was either kind of pressured too much or it may have been caught in practice. I would take the Rib Stick, same bait, but it's in Dirty Crawl, and it's just a more natural bait. It kind of looks like a little perch up there. It really imitated them well. But on this drop shot here, it's a 1/2 ounce full contact Eco Pro tungsten weight, and what that does is lets it fall straight down real fast. That way you can make sure it gets straight on the bed. If you're off the bed, those fish are not going to pay any attention to it. They're only concerned when you're in there and you're really agitating them. The line size, I was using a 12-pound Invis-X. It's made by Seagar, and that's heavier than I would normally drop shot with, but when they're bed fishing, they're so aggressive, they don't really care about line size. And with them not caring about that, it really let you get a good hook in them, and you could kind of lean into them a little bit harder. You go and boat flip them. So it was just a better all-around technique. It's a Ardent Sea-Force 3000 spinning reel. Just super smooth drag. Make sure you get those fish in. You really play them well. It's got an oversized handle on it, so you get a good hold on it. The braid is Ardent Gliss. This is 24-pound, and I like that high-vis yellow. It just kind of let me see my, if I didn't see the fish, if they were a little deeper, I couldn't see them swimming off with the bait itself. I could actually kind of see my line just start to take off. So it was great for getting those bites there and noticing them. The Dobbins 702 Champion is what I used along with the 703 Champion Extreme. I would go to that when I was fishing a bigger fish that I saw. It just let you really kind of have a little beefier rod and give them a little more of the business, if you know what I mean. So day one, I started running to my first 3 beds that I had, and they were all like 3 1/4 or so, and they were all gone. So I ran probably about 60 miles just to start the morning that was basically wasted, other than one 3 1/4 that had pulled up on a bed that I had saw it starting to spawn in practice, but it was still rolling. You couldn't catch it, so wasn't quite the start I wanted to the day. But then after that, I ran up to a 370 I had caught in practice, and the wind was blowing out of the south. This was a north bank, and it blew some dirt right in there. I could not see this fish anymore. It was in about 7 foot. I was using my flogger. I was doing everything I could to try to see this fish, and just I couldn't see it. So I just started blind casting. I drug around that area for probably, I don't know, probably a 1/2 hour, and never got bit. And I had that thing marked exactly where it was at on my Lowrance HDS 12 Live. And even with that, I wasn't able to get that fish to bite. So I kind of had to abandon it, left it go. I was hoping the second day maybe I could come back and get it again, which we'll get back to. But After that, I ran a bunch more beds that I had marked back up towards Plattsburgh where we had started. Picked off, I think 2 or 3 3-pounders. So we had 3 that were over 3 pounds. So we were getting better shape. I ran over to the inland sea. Didn't have a whole lot going on over there. Caught some short, not even short, but they were little keeper bass. They didn't help a whole lot. So I finally made my run back up to the northern end of the inland sea there, and that is where I went and caught my last 2 keepers. That put me up to 15.5 pounds for the day. Not exactly what I was looking for, but it was a start. It had me in 73rd place, I believe, just outside that check range, which is the top 65. So I knew I didn't have much to get back into it. I was bummed that I kind of hurt my shot at making that day 3 cut on the first day, but it's kind of how it goes sometimes. So I just had to salvage what I could on day 2, which was I went out, knew I had to go fish a lot of new water. I went up to an area that I got in some bites in practice that were a couple really decent, so I was just gonna kind of settle in there and try to figure it out. And you couldn't really see the fish on beds real well, besides with the flogger around 9:30 or 10 when the sun got up high enough. So what I was doing was just running around looking, casting just kind of blind, and I picked off a 3-pounder pretty early in the morning. And then I went over to the area I thought I was gonna be able to see him once that sun got up, and I just started kind of blind casting. I caught a 380, which was my biggest one, or second biggest one of the tournament, biggest one up to that point. And that kind of had me going. It's like I just got to keep blind casting and just look for beds at the same time. And I kept doing that, and I found 3 more 3-pounders on beds, and I caught a 3 1/4 just blind casting at the same time. I found a lot of fish on day 2 that were they were on a boulder with kind of some sand and shell around it, and you would just see the dark spot, and you had to take the flogger, which is the bathymetric scope that you kind of look through, cuts the glare out of the water and lets you see those fish that are down there. And they were just every probably 3rd boulder had a bed on it with either the fish that was already caught by somebody else in the area or that I was going to catch. So that was great. Kind of got up to that 16 1/4 range, and I knew I had a little bit of room for improvement still. I thought I was going to be right around that check range at this point, so I wanted to make sure I upgraded. I still had 3 that were 3 pounds, and then those 2 better fish. So I ran back south towards Plattsburgh as I was going down there. There's one point that I hadn't checked in practice. The wind had been blowing into it, and the second day of the tournament was just perfectly flat out. It was great sight fishing conditions. So I went and started looking. I didn't even pick a rod up at this point. I was just trolling motoring on 100 and just going down the bank looking. And every dark spot I would look, I'd jump down, you'll see, looking for them in the flogger. And eventually I came across a 3 1/4 that got me up another 1/4 pound, got me to about 16.5. And I had about an hour and a half left in the day. I started running around, went up to this one hump that I'd looked at in practice, but it was just too windy. I couldn't see anything, and it was a little deeper. It was about 12 foot. And as I was trolling motoring across this, I just checking dark spots. I couldn't tell if they were beds for real or not. They didn't see any fish on them, but then I found this one that was a little darker. It wasn't a big bed. It was probably about the size of a dinner plate. And when I was looking at this fish, or looking at the bed with the flogger, I was right on top of it, just staring at it. Like I knew that it was a bed. I couldn't tell if the fish was on there. And all of a sudden this thing made just a little bit of a mistake and it turned. And it was just enough, because they're great at camouflaging. They camouflage exactly the same color as the bed. So when he made that little bit of movement, I was like, oh, it's a good one. I knew it was a fish pushing 4 pounds. It was the best fish I had seen all week on a bed. So I picked up my drop shot with the rib stick, throw it in there, missed the bed the first time a little bit, backed off a little bit again. Second pitch, throw it in there, it just starts swimming off, hook it, and this fish, it was a nice healthy one. It just pulled up on its bed there. It was still fat. A lot of these fish that you would catch after they've been on for a week or so, they were just starting to get thin from not eating. But this one I got in, was able to call out a 3-pounder and got me up to almost 17.5, and got me a 40th place finish here at Lake Champlain. So check out the highlights coming up here. You'll get to see lots of awesome fish get caught. mouth. I've found 3 or 5 that were over 3, and that's the rest have been like 2.5. I'm sorry? Yeah, hang on one sec. Oh, that'll be a decent one. He might be 2 3/4. What did you have yesterday?
15.
Yeah. Do you think, is it going to go up or down, you think? Yeah. I had 15.10. I got 16 now, so it's going to be like right there. If it goes up at all, I'm going to be in trouble. Yeah. 260.
260?
Yeah.
That's all I got in my live well. All those. I got to leave. I caught a crapphead up here this morning.
Did you?
Yeah, but they were all that size.
You looking at them or you just casting?
Just casting.
Yeah.
I can't see the fish. I can see the bed.
Yeah, that's the same deal. You have to check every one of them to see if there's anything on it.
I was looking, if there's one on it, I'd bite it. Without seeing. You gonna make the cut?
Nah, I had to like top 15 it. I had to come in like the top 15. I was in, I think 60th coming into it. How about you?
Yeah, man, I'm in. I got them today, got me.
Sweet, good job.
About 10 pounds today.
That's awesome. In the mouth.